So how does this all fit together with our display grids and all these spans and giving them names and so on? We're going to try and quickly create something similar to this by using this display grid, so you can actually start implementing it into your design. And it's really easy. So each of these have a name: span 1, span 2, span whatever, and so on up to 12, because we're using a 12 grid column system. In our code, I just quickly did this. I created I can just show you, I marked my div box 4 out here, and I just did a image where I do the hashtag for creating an ID. I named it span, and it's going to add a number from 1 to how many we are going to create. I am going to also add a span and add a number in here, so it says span 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I want 12 of these. So you can do this and it looks like this. Whoop-de-doo, just like we did before. It's awesome. So save this, so you have span 1 and all the way down like this. In our CSS, we're going to make changes to this so we can actually make our preliminary grid for this here. We have width right now on 9600 pixels, but if we look at this, I can actually see the width of this here is 980. Is also what I showed you in the video where I went to the 1200 pixels page, because I was using specific sizes. So I'm just going to change this quickly to 1080, like so. We're not going to use column anymore in this case, because we're trying to build a dynamic grid. You can, of course, if you want to create 12 grids, but they depend on how many of these boxes you create. It's automatically just going to copy what it did in the last one if you don't. In this case here, we did 4 columns, but because we're trying to create a 12 column row, we're going to delete these, so it just says repeat like we did with the first one where we had 4, but instead of having 4 we want 12 columns now. If we look at here, we have down here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 12. You see the orange one or the yellow one here. So 12 will equal the entire width of the page. So keeping that 12 and divide the number evenly among them, like so. We don't really need this area here anymore as well, so we can delete that. But we want to keep the grid gap as well, so we can see the space between. And we want to keep 10 pixels. I want to keep 10 pixels here. If I do this, I click save. I have my spans down here. It's only 4, so it's going to look a little bit weird, like so. Span 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right now it's just creating a span, and it's going to put all the 12 in this width of 1080, because we're not telling it to do anything specific other than dividing it up with this code here. So put 12 columns in, divide them so they get an equal amount. That's why it looks like this right now. What we can do now is kind of awesome. So we need to do a grid and we need to do the column. And in here we can assign something called span. So the reason why I named them span is so it's easier for you to see. The first one we're going to do just span 1. Basically what this means, instead of writing 1 divided by 2, so it goes from 1 to 2, we can just type span 1. This one here is going to do span, grid, column, span 2. I'm just going to copy this out, and you probably already see the point of this. Span 3, and in span 4 we have span 4, and like so. So I'll click save, and let's see what this actually does to our page. So now you can see this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can continue with this 5, 6, 7 up to 12. So 12, I'm just going to create the 12 one because that makes sense to see what it actually does. So span 4, span 12, and span 12 here. I'm going to refresh. Now you can see it goes from all the way over here to here. This is a super smart way of creating a grid structure for you. The problem with this is once we do span, like so, we can't really control where it starts, like we could with the other one when we use the divider sign. But this is if you need to create a grid that you know it's always 4 and 5 and 6 and so on, and you don't need it to be in a specific place, you can just use this span 2 like this. Then it will just be, this is the first element we create in our HTML. span 1, span 2, all the way to 12. It's just going to put them in. So as long as there's room, it's going to put them up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, no more room. 5 would be down here. We can try creating 5 actually to see what happens. So we want span 4, span 5, span 5, and click save, fresh. So you can see span 5 goes down there. But this means there's still room up here. And if we want to fill that gap out here, we can add an HTML element called 2. So we need to go to our index where it says 4, and just after this, I'm copying this one up here, span 2. Just after 4, we paste that in, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I hit refresh, so now it automatically fills this in. So this is a way of creating a grid structure that you can use. And this is, again, really awesome once you start to learn how it all fits together. This is something Flex can do as well, but it is a little bit, for me at least, a little bit more tricky to do it like this. I like the way that the grid is structured like this. But this is a way of creating a grid that's very similar to this one here. And then you can just continue adding them in and making them fit like you should.